silence your cell phones so we don't have any major interruptions when we have the speaker speaking tonight. That'd be wonderful. I just want to thank you guys that have been coming to the meetups at Mario's and supporting the new owners of Mario's on Fenton Road. See, we had the Godfather, Terry Hansen, at the last meetup speaking. Make sure you say hi to Terry and Henry, the two godfathers of this wonderful organization that we all get to come to the second Monday of every month. So thank you guys for coming. The board has been talking and discussing the options of potentially running or doing and organizing a neighborhood cleanup and trying to neighborhood cleanup efforts to clean up blight and paint graffiti. So if you guys could get your recommendations for potential neighborhoods or street sections or even building addresses that you see an issue with as blight to Linda or Amanda at the office, that would be great. We want to come up with some potential sites. Like, I know I was driving through Flint today, and there's schools that are all covered in graffiti. I own a lot of stuff on Flushing Road, and Flushing Road, there's several buildings that are all tagged up, much more than my 1 can of Kill spray paint that I keep in my door to potentially cover up tags can cover. Beecher Road seems to look pretty clean, but there's a lot of schools, commercial buildings that are covered in graffiti that the neighborhood could definitely use to clean up on. I know Fenton Road's also trash at the moment. So if you guys have specific areas that you own a lot of houses in that you would like us to potentially target, please get those to Linda and Amanda at the office. So to get to the main speaker, I want to bring Aaron up here, our Vice President, to introduce our speaker tonight, Beal Capital.
So tonight we have Stuart Beal from Beal Properties, Beal Capital, and Beal, well, all kinds of stuff. And I don't know if his associate Chris might say some words too, but if Stuart could come up. Stuart Beal.
Hello everyone, thanks for having me. I'm Stuart Beal. And I guess I'll just start out with what our company does and what we offer real estate investors. First off, we have 63 employees at our property management company, and we manage about 3,000 single-family homes, office spaces, and apartment buildings, apartment units in a 1 hour radius around where I live in Ypsilanti, Michigan. So that takes us up to Flint, takes us down to Toledo, takes us to Detroit, east of Detroit, north of Detroit, and then that takes us to Lansing. And then one thing we launched this month is Chris Sullivan came from Grand Rapids tonight to meet people. We opened an office in Grand Rapids this month. And so our goal is to allow real estate investors to buy property anywhere in the southern half of Michigan and tack it on our platform. And I used to tell people, make sure you buy a property very close to your house. But what we now offer is you can buy a property anywhere in the bottom half of Michigan and tack it onto our platform and be confident that you'll have some professionalism on the property management front. So if you buy a property anywhere in Michigan, we'd be glad to manage it of any size. So it's anywhere from a single family home up till the largest property we've managed is the 468 unit apartment complex in Ypsilanti. And we manage a couple hundred single family homes. We manage some of those bigger complexes. But our sweet spot is folks like some of you in the room that own 10, 12, 15 properties. It's a little too much to manage yourself, but you want to keep buying, you want to keep investing. So if you hire Beal Properties, we'll handle the property management hour by hour, day by day, so that you can do what you enjoy, which is do acquisitions and evaluations and maybe the renovations that you guys like to do. So that's the first thing, is just property management. We charge anywhere from 7 to 10% of the monthly rent, depending on the quality of the rent roll. So If you ask us to manage a house in Ann Arbor that we rent for $3,500, you can do it for 7%. If you ask us to manage a house in Flint that you're renting for less than $1,000, the minimum would be 10%. And actually in Toledo, some houses rent for so little that we charge 12%. Because you wouldn't even make $40 or $50 a month.
Why is it cheap in Toledo?
Yeah, just same reasons, same things that Flint suffered from, lack of investment in the neighborhoods that bring the properties down, and buying the properties for $1,000, $2,000 total, that type of thing. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing we offer, where Beal Capital comes in, is we sponsor investment opportunities for both accredited and non-accredited investors. So the definition of an accredited investor is someone that has a net worth of more than $1 million, excluding their personal residence, or on their tax return has made more than $200,000 a year for the 3 previous years, in conjunction with your spouse. So if you're a non-accredited investor, someone's starting out, obviously I wasn't accredited for a long time when I got started, we still offer investment opportunities. And the way we do it is we buy a single asset, we call them single asset entities. So let's say we get into a property at 111 Main Street, we'll form 111 Main Street LLC, and we'll invite investors to contribute capital into the LLC and then use that LLC to buy the property. Much like you guys do now to buy single properties, but this is a quick and easy way to get 2 or 3 investors together to buy a property. And the reason we do that is we have a full team that's evaluating investment deals. We can't do them all with our own capital, plus we want to expand our property management business. So we'll put in $25,000, we'll get 2 other investors to put in $25,000, and tomorrow we're buying a 4-unit in Flat Rock, Michigan. $75,000 from the investors, $100,000 loan, and buying the property. And you own as much as you invest. So let's say, for very simplistic standpoint, the deal requires a $100,000 cash from an investor and a $300,000 loan. If you invest $15,000, you own 15% of the deal. If you invest $30,000, you own 30% of the deal. And the minimum is 25, so we usually try to do it in $25,000 increments. But if someone in this room has capital, is working a full-time job, wants to be a real estate investor, but hasn't ever done a deal above a single family, this is a perfect opportunity for you, because we invite you to be a partner in the deal and participate the entire way through. So tomorrow on this Flat Rock deal, the investors are coming to the closing. They attended the appraisal walkthrough. They were copied on the emails with the title company and the bank, and kind of learning how to do it so that you can go on and do it yourself if you want to. So that's how we do the small deals. And then the bigger deals, Beal Capital, what we really like to do is work with accredited investors who are going to repeatedly invest with us. The minimum, again, is $25,000, and we pool large groups of investors together to buy properties that none of us in the room could buy by ourselves. I don't know everyone yet, but some of us, I assume. And so the way we do that is we create a real estate syndication, invite investors to invest in it, and then go out and buy multiple properties in a pool. So Beal Fund 1, which we did last year, we raised $2.5 million from investors, and we bought about $9 million worth of real estate, 200 apartments with that money. And everyone who invests has a small interest, a small slice of the real estate syndication, and you get a small slice of the cash flow, a small slice of the appreciation, the depreciation, the fact that we're using the tenant's money to pay down the loan, and then of course a small slice of any cash out proceeds or sale of the property. And that's how we do real estate syndications. So those are the 3 things that we do for investors. And anyone in the room could bring all sorts of ideas to us about how we can help you or you can help us. We're always looking for contractors, we're always looking for investors, we're always looking for people that want property management, but we're also looking for deals too. So one of the things that we do also is, let's say you're out there and you have a deal that you have under contract, but you can't quite bring it to the closing table, you don't quite have money, you can bring it to us and we'll put it on our platform and you'd be an investor and get paid for bringing the deal, but we'll help finish it up, get the loan, that sort of thing.
So,
Go ahead.
the vehicle that you own the property as, is that an LLC or?
Yeah.
So, everybody would be a member of that LLC. Is there a percentage? This one is a 10% owner or a 15% owner?
Yeah, so back to the simple example of, let's say it's a $400,000 acquisition and it takes $100,000 cash and a $300,000 loan. If you invest $25,000 in the deal, you'd be a 25% owner and get 25% of all the benefits of real estate. And there's about 5 different benefits of real estate, as you probably know. And so you remain that partner forever. The way we make money is we charge a broker fee. So our minimum broker fee on a deal is $15,000. And then secondly, we manage the property as the property manager. So I'm a real estate broker, and instead of finding a deal and selling it to someone else and getting a commission, what we do is we find the deal, turn it into an investment opportunity, and therefore charge our investors, if we can't charge the seller, a broker fee. So that's how we make money.
Is there a rate of return that your investors realize in 2021? Is there a number to it?
Yeah, so we buy, every deal we do, we want to have 10% cash on cash return soon. But soon can mean various things, because what I mean by soon is we buy properties that need fixing, need things fixed. So for instance, we bought a vacant frat house and we did a $100,000 renovation on it. Then we got all the tenants in, and now it's cash flowing 10%, cash on cash return. We bought a 4-unit, did nothing, and 10% cash on cash return. But most of the time we buy significantly under rented properties that have very little cash flow until we go in and execute our BRRRR strategy, so to speak, or at least the front end of it, where we ask the existing tenants for modest rent increases. Surprisingly, even though they're modest, several move out. You go in and you improve that unit, and then you put it back on for market rate. So as an example, 2 weeks ago we bought a 20-unit in Brooklyn, Michigan. It's a very small town with very few apartments. And someone moved out of a 2-bedroom that was paying $650. We went in and put in vinyl plank, painted it, new appliances, and rented it for $1,100. And the person who was renting it for $650 was glad to, but when we asked them for $750, they moved out. But here comes another person glad to pay $1,100 for a modernized unit. And that's how we execute the BRRRR strategy.
Is there an average rate of return, though, that your investor made in 2021?
Yeah, slightly above 10%. Yeah. On both the syndications and on the smaller deals that were fixed, But if we bought a building in 2021, June, they need a lot of work, we might not still have it fixed, almost. It takes some time sometimes. Anywhere from 3 to 9 months, basically. So.
What percentage of deals you syndicate do you charge for management typically?
For property management? Yeah, so on property management, on real estate syndications, we're buying mid-size apartment complexes, anywhere from 20 to 60, 70 units. And so we charge 7% to 8%, the average being 7%.
Do you participate in syndication?
Yeah, I'm the largest investor in our syndications by a long stretch.
So is your percentage proportionately owned? So say your example, 25,000, 100,000 down, $400,000 building, 300 note. So that gets you 25,000, gets you 25%.
Yeah.
Is your 25,000 worth 25%, or do you do doing a 2-for-1?
Yeah, so there's a couple different ways you can do it. And the way we do it is my money is equal to the other investors, but we charge that brokerage fee and we charge a property management fee. But another way I advise investors to do their first deal with investors. So let's say you guys want to do your first deal with investors. You're not a licensed real estate broker. You can't charge a commission. You get into a deal that again requires $100,000 cash, $300,000 loan. You get 3 guys to put in $30,000 for 25% interest each, and you put in $10,000 for 25% interest each. So they invest and are essentially paying you to put the deal together. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So they invest 90, for 75% interest, you invest 10,000 for 25% interest, and therefore you just made 15,000 on paper for putting the deal together. So that's a way that young real estate investors that want to get started working with investors can start putting deals together. And I have done that in the past. The first real estate syndication we ever did, we didn't charge any fees at all. We kept 10% of the equity. You know, it worked out fine. That's the way to do it. Yeah, okay, great. So that's what we offer investors, and we'd be glad to talk specifics with anyone. Hand out my card, anybody get my card, grab it.
Your syndication agreements, how long are they?
They can go forever if you're meeting the minimum goals. If you don't meet the minimum goals, the properties need to be sold in the 10th year. So they go a long time. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Did you say that you offered loans to some of the investors?
No.
Okay.
No, I've never done that.
You said something earlier about loans, where the investors didn't have enough money. You said something that I think
No.
you said you partnered with the market.
No, I don't think I did. I mean, I have loaned to partnership money before because like we were short to close or something, but that's not like a thing we'd set out to
Maybe
do.
you said you loaned somebody money.
Well, hopefully they pay me back, but I don't remember that. Maybe my brother. I better go talk to him. Yeah, so that's what we do, and
Do you have a buyout in your syndications typically?
yeah,
As a sponsor?
So in any deal that we do, there are multiple ways an investor can get their money back. First of all, you're going to get some cash flow. Secondly, between 3 and 7 years, we're going to try to do a cash out refinance and return most or all of the capital back to the investor. They'll remain in the deal in any scenario. We don't buy the investors out. But then also, you can sell your share in the investment. So when you invest with us, you actually get a certificate of a purchase agreement that says you bought a share, much like if you bought a share in Ford stock. And you can sell that share to anyone that you want at any time for any price. So if you want to get the money back just a few weeks after making the investment, you'll probably lose a little bit of money because there's costs associated with selling. But if you hold on to it, it will appreciate, just like the equity in the overall deal will appreciate, and you can sell that. Because we can buy back stock. You can sell it to our investor base, so you could ask us to advertise it to our investor base, or you could sell it to anyone that you know. And hopefully if you invest $25,000, 3 or 4 years later, it's going to be worth $35,000 or $37,000 or $40,000, and you can sell it for a profit. That's how that would work. Yeah.
The whole agreement, like your contract with your people, are you just using the operating agreement to outline all the rules? Or do you have like a joint, like I know a lot of people are going to use joint ventures, you know, and then sell the investment, it's a mortgage on the property. Or these people are actually partners. So are you putting all the rules that like Beal Capital has to manage it and all that stuff right into the operating agreement?
Yeah, so on the small deals where we're working with non-accredited investors, we have an operating agreement and a property management agreement, and both of those documents govern how the partnership is going to be run. And then in the real estate syndication, we have a 120-page manual written by an attorney that specializes in SEC regulations, who spells out everything you can ever think of, every risk, everything an investor can consider in that document, and then it also governs how it's going to work. And basically, when you're investing in a real estate project with someone, you shouldn't really be investing unless you have full faith in their decision making, because really when you read the documents you're going to discover you have no authority or no decision making going forward, basically.
Sponsor control.
The sponsor controls it, yep, in every deal that I've seen. Now if you do a deal 50-50 partner with your brother or 50-50 partner with your good friend, you guys can talk about everything together, and but about a year from now, you're like, dang, we do way too much talking and not enough working. And that's what I've experienced. It's better that one person has the decision making and can act quickly.
So I remember you saying that on year 10, you typically sell. That's like in the bylaws.
If you're not meeting your goals, but if you're meeting your goals, the sponsor can keep it going forever.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the goal is 10%?
We have a 7 in the non-accredited deals, it's 10%. And in the syndication, it's a 7% preferred return. And then there's a 70-30 split after 7%. 70% to the investor, 30% to the sponsor. And we try to do 10%. And we've done that the last 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so say your first 9 months are negative cash flow. Does that 7% preferred return, you don't have to write a check, but you basically, you're building that into the bank, so you have to pay that back until you can start getting your 30, correct?
Yeah, you need to make that up, yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, and you can do it by selling a building if necessary, if you get too out of whack, you know. But yeah, definitely.
For those of us that aren't you or have, what's preferred return?
A preferred return to me in my real estate syndication means an investor gets 7% return on their capital that they invested before the sponsor makes any money. So if you invest $100,000, you'll get $7,000 a year back before the sponsor, me, makes any money. After the 7%, let's say this thing is cash flowing like crazy, returning 15% cash on cash returns. The investor will do very well and the sponsor will do very well because above 7% it's split 70-30. So that's how I want to do it. But like, you know, when you're buying houses for cash in Flint, on paper you might be like, this is going to cash flow 25%, you know, type of thing. But when you're buying mid-sized apartment buildings in Southeast Michigan competing against 100 other people that are trying to buy them, the cash flow and the cap rates are extremely suppressed. And so 7% is good. You know, that's a good return. You know.
How many investors do you think have lost along the way? How many investors do you think you might have lost since inception, where it just didn't work out for them, or they had other money problems, or have they lost 10% of the investor load, or where do you think you're at?
Well, I have 984 investors, so I don't really have good data on that, but it's certainly...
Do you think you lose 50 a year?
Lose them.
Or they want to sell out, or whatever the reason is?
No, the average investor with us just lets it ride.
So you haven't been losing any investors through the years?
Oh yeah, yeah. We've had people that get pissed off at us, or they become annoying. You know.
I've never seen an investor group where 100% of the people were happy 100% of the time.
Oh no, definitely not. One of the wildest ones was a guy invested $100,000, and 7 months later we sold the property and gave him his $100,000 back. And he was pissed. He was pissed.
You want 150?
Well, he got like 120 for like a 30% return because he was only invested for 7 months. But he was like, you know how much work it was to invest that money? I had to vet you. I had to, you know, now I got to do it all over again. You know, so people can become upset for success or failure. You know, and I've done about 600 real estate transactions in the last 20 years. So I'm not up here saying that everyone went well. I mean, the average, above average, they went well, but we could talk about some real shitty ones. You know.
I'm nowhere near as large as Steel Capital, but I've very seldom seen partnerships that last a long time. It just seems to me that after a year, 2 years, people's lives change, and one wants out, one wants more. I mean, they just aren't compatible.
Yeah, and cryptocurrency's been a real problem for us. People say, you're only returning 7 or 10% return on my money, and all my friends are on Facebook talking about how they're making 100% returns. So I need my money back so I can invest in crypto. That actually happened. We had a partnership where we owned 4 office buildings, and one of the partners demanded to be paid out. And so we executed a cash out refinance where we gave him 100% of the proceeds of the cash out refinance, and we kept the buildings. So that's happened. So you're 100% right about that. And that's the difficulty of what we're doing as sponsors is keeping the investors happy enough to not start
I think
fighting.
that's the number one problem, is keeping the investors happy.
Well, yeah, and so everyone who here is an investor or wants to be an investor, and there's a saying in the property management industry that the clients are crazier than the tenants. And you say that kind of jokingly, but then you're reminded of it pretty regularly, where you do an awesome job for a client and they're really mad, or you do a bad job because property management's really hard. So the other day, someone hired me to manage a building in December, and he claims he told us apartment 1 was vacant, but the rent roll he gave us said it was occupied. So we believe it's occupied. 11 of the 18 tenants in the building weren't paying. So with this woman in 1 not paying, we didn't know any different about that. So, we do our collection activities, we file an eviction on number 1, and then the client says the water bill is higher than expected in February. And so we go into all 18 units and find it abandoned. And when we notified the client, he said, what do you mean it was abandoned? I told you that was vacant when I hired you. That's been vacant for 3 months. And in that span, we'd onboarded maybe 200 units or something. And so maybe we didn't do as good a job as we could have there. We were, using the information we had. But yeah, that guy's real mad right now, I just said, well, you gave us a building with 11 delinquent tenants. We've gotten nine of those to pay. So on average, we're doing pretty good, because property management's really hard. So that's a hard job, So, but what I say at Beal Properties is we manage the buildings the way we would do if we own them. And so we work really hard. We work 7 days a week around the clock to service the clients as best we can. So, anybody got any questions about what I said so far? Yeah, go ahead.
So I understand the accreditation and the non-accreditation. So I would imagine there's a lot of people that dabble more on the investment side. I'm on the contracting side. So my question to you is on the non-accredited, because obviously I don't have that kind of capital to bring to the table. What about sweat equity?
Yeah. So sweat equity is an amazing thing in real estate. It does not work on where I am in my career with my model, because what I need is your money. I don't need partners that have sweat equity. But if you want to do sweat equity, there are plenty of people in this room or plenty of opportunities out there. You just need to network and get out there and network. So that's what I used to do when I was 19 to when I was 30, is I would be out there working in the field, making all the things that I was doing be even better because of my sweat equity. So I bought a 30-unit apartment complex when I was 22 or 23. I personally did about 90% of the work in every one of those units for like a year, and it saved about $100,000 probably in renovation costs just myself, and that was all sweat equity for sure. And if your partner's in a deal with someone, your partner should be compensated for you. And that's, my dad was a partner in that deal, and he didn't come to the property one time in a year, and I was there every day. And so when it paid off, I explained that to him, and he was agreeable to paying me for my sweat equity or rewarding me for my sweat equity. So it doesn't work with what I'm doing right now, but definitely there's people in this room that would love to sit behind a desk, let you do the work, and get paid for it.
Well, see, the number one thing for me is that I have myself spread out quite a ways.
Yeah.
Which doesn't really bother me a whole lot. I'll go an hour and a half if it's worth it. It doesn't bother me that. But I'm based on London, so my focus, I would prefer to be more this way, ideally. But my expansion is in several areas as well.
Yeah.
What I'm doing is I'm broadening my team, my body. I'm not looking for 15 to 20 bodies by the end of the year. My ultimate goal is to cover all 4 corners of the lower half of the state. And I'm on my way, 80 steps. But ideally, I live in Lincoln. I prefer to stay more this way.
Yeah.
I've spent a lot of time paying attention to what a lot of people say. Network pages, we've all seen those pages. I sat back for a year just evaluating, assessing, reading. trying to figure out the people that I would like to deal with and the people I don't want to deal with. Because I've seen kind of what you were just saying a bit ago.
Right.
But ultimately, I guess and you answered my question, I appreciate that, is the fact that I'm not in a position for that kind of financial contribution. But at some point I will be, but I appreciate you answering that.
Yeah, it's all about networking. So everything we do in business is all about networking. So the deals that we come across and the clients that we get is all through constant networking, and we do it a couple of different ways. The first thing is Chris, who's our director of business development, and I. We attend. Chris, stand up, say hello. Yeah, Chris is the director of business development. We attend multiple networking events like this every single week, lunches, breakfasts, dinners. We're doing 2 this Wednesday in Grand Rapids. And you pass out your card, you meet people, and then tomorrow someone will call you, but 2 years, 3 years from now, someone will call you and say, hey, remember that one time you presented in Flint, and you won't even remember. You'll be like, okay, and then they'll start talking, and then you'll start helping them, and you'll start doing business. Then the second thing is the social media presence is really huge. That's a way to meet a lot of folks. And then we do a lot of writing letters. So the way we find real estate deals is we drive around neighborhoods, drive around cities, take notes on buildings that look interesting. Maybe they're vacant, maybe they're distressed. Write the owner a letter, and they'll call you. So there's a trucking facility by my house that's been very busy for 10 years, constant activity. And then a month ago I was driving by and it was completely closed. And so I looked up who owned it on the database of the city, and I mailed the owner a letter, and I said, hey, I see your trucking facility is closed. I always admire how busy you are, give him a few compliments. And if you're ever interested in selling the property, give me a call. And I put that letter in the mail, and he actually called 3 days later and said, I am interested in selling, can you meet me there tomorrow? And I toured it, and I told him that I thought it'd be better to sell, instead to a real estate investor, to sell someone who's going to run a trucking company, because of what he wanted for the property. But that's a good example of that type of networking. So if you've got sweat equity and you've got crews and stuff, and you want to earn your way into deals, there's definitely ways to do that, for sure. Yep.
I like a lot of things that you have to say tonight. And I like the idea of investing in the whole state rather than just Genesee County. But I gotta tell you, I'm not impressed with just getting a 10% return on invested capital. I wouldn't invest in real estate for just a 10% return.
Yeah.
It seems a little tight to me.
Yeah, so you might have, okay, so what we offer is a 10% cash on cash return, which doesn't include any of the other benefits of real estate. And so your return is not going to be 10% over time. It's going to be in the high teens or low 20s. And we've done deals as high as 70% cash on cash, not cash on cash, 70% IRR. So for instance, we bought, in our very first real estate syndication, we bought a 6-unit for $150,000, and 2 years later sold it for $375,000. That was a 76% IRR over that period.
Did the investors share in it?
Yeah, they shared all of it. Yeah. So it's a 10%. It's a minimum 10%. Excuse me, not a minimum. It's a minimum 7% cash on cash return. We're trying to do 10%, but you get all the other benefits of real estate. So by paying down your loan every month, you're making about 4% a year by using the tenant's money to pay down your loan. So you tack the 4% onto the 10%, now you're at 14%. Plus your property's going up in value 3 to 5% a year, hopefully. So you tack that on top. Then you're getting depreciation and using that depreciation to shield other income you're earning in other businesses that you own. And so when you add that all together, hopefully you're nowhere near that minimum return and achieving a much higher IRR.
You don't have a history, or you do have a history of going back to the investors saying, we're a little bit short on this deal, I need another 10 grand to keep it running.
Yeah, so when you're investing in a single deal, a single building, the risk of that happening is much greater than if you're investing in a real estate syndication. So in Beal Fund 1, where we raised $2.5 million, we bought 6 properties. They're all performing differently. I can tell one is already a dog, and we're going to sell it this spring into a hot market and hopefully sell it for a profit. Even if we just sell it for break even, that's going to be good because we're getting rid of the dog and we're going to keep the 5 that are good. One is an amazing grand slam. We've increased the rent roll by over 50% on an apartment building per month. So the rent roll was 20 when we bought it, it's 30 now. So we're going to do a cash out refinance on that building here soon, and return the capital to the investors. But the reason I'm saying about the cash out refinance is instead of returning all of the money to the investors, we can keep some of that on hand to help with this dog if necessary. And so we don't have to.
That money that you're gonna keep on hand, how does that remain that particular investor's money?
So there's 31 investors in the fund, and all 31 investors own the equity of the fund. And so if you keep 100,000 on hand, it'd be 31 people's 100,000. Yeah.
So if you bought a building for 100,000, they would all be in
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. And that's another thing you can do. Instead of returning money to investors, you can keep it and buy another building with it. That's definitely a strategy you could use. So that's the answer to that question. But being involved in a fund allows the sponsor to be much more financially nimble than owning one property. Because let's say you buy a 4-unit and the roof needs to be replaced and the hot water tank needs to be replaced and 2 tenants move out. Well, that might affect multiple years of that investment on a small deal. So, any other questions? All right. Oh, one more, 2 more.
Why don't you take us through the property management side? Obviously, you spent a lot of time on the syndication investment opportunity, but walk it from onboarding through management, through a maintenance call, through to a turnover.
Yeah, perfect. So the average property that we get hired to manage is either a single family or a small apartment building. And so Chris gets on the phone with the client and explains how we're going to manage the property while asking the client how they want the property to be managed. A lot of the time, it's a single family home where it's under rent and it's on a month-to-month lease. So the client says, hey, the reason I'm hiring you is because I'm like good friends with the guy and he's not paying enough rent. I want you to come in and like professionalize the situation and ask them to pay more rent. So what Chris says is, okay, once you sign the contract, we'll within 30 days introduce ourselves, get them onboarded onto our system, and then we'll increase the rent within 30 days after that. Then on a small apartment building, you're going to have like 4 or 5 tenants all happening different things, and so you got to be a little more careful with that, talking about each situation with the client. But a lot of times the client doesn't know what they want to do and doesn't know what's going on, and so we're just telling them what we're going to do. So first of all, you're going to sign the contract and you're going to give us about 7 different things. We need the keys, we need the tenant contact numbers, we need the deeds, we need a certificate of insurance, we need your W-9, and we need voided checks so we can put money in your bank account. Once you give us those 7 things, then we introduce ourselves to the tenant, asking the tenant to log into the portal, get set up, and start paying us the rent. If they're on month-to-month or their lease is expiring, we'll offer them a lease renewal. If they're paying near market rent, we offer them a 2-year lease. You can have a 1-year lease at a 10% increase, or you can do a 2-year lease where the first year is no increase and the second year is a 10% increase. People like that. They like having a choice. Believe it or not, most people choose the 1 year at 10% and then do it again the next year and then do it again the next year, even though you're giving them the 2-year option. And then tenants put in everything in the portal. So everything they do is through the portal, and the client shares the portal with the property manager. So you can see the communications, you can see the maintenance requests, you can see the leases, you can see the tenants paying rent. You've got a pretty good window into what's going on. And when a maintenance request comes in, the property manager assigns it to an in-house maintenance person or a subcontractor, depending on what's appropriate. So in the city of Monroe, we've got a plumber that's really great, charges a very affordable rate. Every maintenance request that comes in the city of Monroe that's involved with water, we just hire that plumber because he's right next to the property. That's an example of how that would be done. And then once a month, we distribute the money into your bank account. That's how it works.
What type of cost from onboarding?
So we charge a $100 onboarding fee for a single family home. If you're hiring us to manage a shit show 60 unit where you have no idea what's going on, we might charge as much as $1,000 to figure that out. But the average is just $100. And then we just charge our management fee on the rent. We don't charge any other escrows or things like that. Now, if you're hiring us to manage a property that needs a ton of work, well then we might require you to pay for some of that work up front. If it's going to exceed what the rents are coming in.
Now, what about like leasing it up?
Yeah, so if the property has tenants in and you want us to just renew the lease with the existing tenant, we don't charge any rent on lease renewals. But if it's vacant, we charge 50% of the first month's rent to place the tenant. A lot of people charge 100%, and the reason we charge 50% is because we want you to hire us, and we undercut our competition by doing that. So, yeah, that's how we do it. You had a question?
Or just about the other two deals, would you say if somebody's thinking of where to invest, there's no safety in the syndication?
So there's pros and cons of investing in a real estate syndication. The number one benefit of investing in my real estate syndication is you're investing in many different properties at the same time. And so, like I mentioned, in Beal Fund 1, I think I've got a dog, I think I've got 5 that are good, and the 5 that are good are gonna outweigh that one that's not performing. Whereas if I had just gotten you to invest in the property that's not performing, your investment would not perform for a long time. So that's the advantage of investing in the syndication, is you're investing in a pool of properties.
Gives you a little more safety.
In my opinion, yes. The second thing is, when you invest in a single family home and in the same year that the furnace needs to be replaced, you evict the tenant, you have to renovate the thing, then as soon as a new person moves in, you gotta replace the hot water tank, you're gonna be having no cash flow for years. I mean, I've seen clients not cash flow for years because of how much work has to go into this house between tenants, you know? In the real estate syndication, we have 184 units. So if we have to evict someone and we have to replace a hot water tank, or replace a furnace, those things affect the overall performance of your investment much less than if you're investing in just one single deal. So that's the advantage. And then the advantage of investing in the small deals is, you know, we've really blown it out of the park with some of the small deals. I specialize in buying vacant office buildings. I buy them for $30 a square foot. We lease them up. Then we get an appraisal for between $75 and $85 a square foot and do a cash out refinance and return 100% of the original investment within 1 year. And I've done that about 6 or 7 times with my investors. And so, you know, if you get into a deal like that, it's pretty good. So.
You separate those investors and the apartment investors?
Yeah. Yeah, the syndications, right now I'm doing 2 syndications, one's for apartments and one's for office buildings, and we keep them separate. Especially because the lenders, you know, you'll get lenders that don't want to lend to certain asset types. And, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, so if you want a 1031 into something we're doing, we'd have to do it as a separate thing. So a guy today called me and said he's selling farmland he inherited from his parents. He's going to get $4.5 million tomorrow, and he wants to do a 1031 into something that I'm doing. And I told him nothing I'm doing right now, he could do that. But we could go out and design something for him to do it. But it doesn't work in what I'm doing because a couple different reasons. But like 1031, you should definitely do it. I mean, you know, I've done 1031s, it's amazing. But it just doesn't work with what I'm currently offering. But with that said, we're real estate brokers. We've got a robust team, so maybe we can help you do something else.
So you're not in Genesee County at all, correct?
Yeah, I manage properties in Flint and manage properties.
How many
Oh, yeah, just 2 in Flint and
Singles or multi?
just 2 single-family homes. And then we manage a 4-unit in Davison, and we manage a 3-unit in Corunna. We're here because we are expanding. We just opened an office in Lansing. We haven't opened an office in Flint yet, but we'd love to as soon as we get over 100, 150 doors. And that's what we're doing. And one of the reasons we're expanding is we used to own 2,000 apartments in Toledo, and my partners made me, I was reluctant, to sell them into this hot market, and so now we need more stuff to do, and so we're expanding over Michigan. I think you got hired in Flint this week? Yeah, so Chris signed up someone in Flint this week. So she manages, she owns 7 houses? Okay, so she hired to manage 2 of her 8 units so far. Yeah. Yeah, so the way we manage scattered site property, and we should talk about that, is through technology. So first of all the tenants pay through the portal. We don't take any cash, we don't take any checks, we don't take any money orders. They pay through the portal. The second thing is all the maintenance is done online. So you can't call us about maintenance. You have to put in the maintenance request online. And then the third thing is we use Show Mojo lock boxes. So as long as the property is move-in ready and vacant, the tenant can show themselves the property without us having to be there. So, and then we can also move the tenant in without us having to be there as well. So we'll put the Show Mojo lockbox on a Monday. On Tuesday, 2 people will come see it. Wednesday, 2 people will come see it. And then one of those people will apply, we'll approve them, and then without ever coming back to the property, we'll move them in on Friday. They just move themselves in. And then the leasing agent, when she's in the area again, will pull the Show Mojo lockbox off the door. So that's how we manage properties, kind of scattered site. All right, I think you have one more speaker. Yeah. Ready? You good? All right. All right, thanks everyone. Nice meeting you.
I think it's a big takeaway, as much as that was a major information dump. There was a lot of information there. I'm Bernard. I have the privilege of working with an awesome board here. I hope that part of what you extracted from that is there's multiple ways to do what you're thinking you want to do with real estate. There's multiple ways to do what you think you want to do with real estate. And I'll be candid, I had a conversation with my wife this morning to remind her, wait a minute, as much as I enjoy real estate, we're in the money business. And so if we're not careful, we'll get sucked back into doing things that we outsourced a long time ago because it's convenient, it seems cheaper, it seems faster. But the reality is, we're in the money business. I put money into property to bring money back. And a lot of what you're hearing is Stewart is sharing a number of different ways, whether it's through syndication, whether it's through management, to get your time back so that you can be putting money to work to make money. Because I'm sure most of us here who have owned properties have found yourself in some situation where you're like, why am I here doing this at this property? And so to a certain extent, it's taking years. I have this reconditioning still that even though, man, paying 7, 8, 10% for somebody to manage something, I don't think I want to do it. But when you're thinking something's going to take 30 minutes to do, and then 4 hours later, you're still tied into it, that's the moment when you're like, man, I could have just paid somebody to manage this. I'm making this expression because obviously Stewart and his team are doing a phenomenal job in the areas they're in. Without apology, I'm going to acknowledge we've got a number of property managers that are here in the area. The general concept, though, of stepping away from doing everything, you might be your worst enemy trying to do everything. And in most cases, you probably are. And as much as we want to point at the tenants, sometimes you create it. Maybe I'll talk about me. I've created the situation, the solution, the structure that gives them that much access to me. I'm the one that's giving them that much opportunity to create me headache, and now I'm mad at them. That's because I put myself in the middle of it. So a lot of what you're hearing today is, how can I let my money make money and use some wisdom to let someone else help bridge that gap? So for example, I see Nadeem Gabriel in the back. It's good to see him. He's got Gabriel Management. You got Mike in the back with PMI. You've got Ed manages property. There's a number of property managers here. And I'm saying that because there's options. And I hope the biggest thing you extracted today is that you are here. I know we're the Genesee Landlord Association, but you're not here to have a hobby association. You're here to make money on those properties. And so, all that being said, our vendor just left. We invited a vendor here, and I appreciate he came through. He had a family commitment he had to get to. He stuck around as long as he could. And I'll give a prime example. He's Larry Cole of American Building Company, licensed, bonded, insured builder. And again, personal acknowledgement. Last year I had 3 small buildings that I decided I would self-manage the renovation, and it was okay until it wasn't. I just put one in Larry's hands, and the fact that I'm not in my subconscious wondering, did the guys get the paint, are they painting the basement today? I'm not wondering, oh, we gotta go get the permit pulled for the electrical inspection. Like, he just calls me once a week and tells me we're on pace, so this is what happens, and I move on with my life. And so I wanna echo again, we're here for you to learn the nuts, the bolts, learn the hard, the ugly stuff, that's fine, but don't live in the ugly stuff. Don't stay in the ugly stuff. Learn some of these strategies, get with some of the professionals that are around so that you can be more effective in just enjoying and living your life. Thank you. I've got some of Larry's cards here. He's also a residential and commercial inspector. Been at it, quite frankly, 50 years. He is not stopping, and he does a good job. Thank you.
Thank you, Bernard. So the last announcement I have for tonight is the next meetup. It's going to be March 24th, again at Mario's. And at this next one, we've got Alexis Ruffin speaking. She used to be a GLA board member, and she is going to speak about Airbnbs and if they actually work in Flint. And Brian, what do you have to say?
When you're done, I have a cap or a wand.
Okay. Well, that's all about that. So now Brian, who's back there waving and interrupting my speaking, has a have and a want.
All right, so one of our vendors, and usually advertise with us, still is a good resource for everybody. Called me up today, and he is looking for a 2-bedroom, one bath in Flushing Sword Street, Clinton, somewhere safe for $1,200 or more. If anybody's got it, he's looking for a 2-bedroom for $1,200.
2 bedrooms, $1,200 a month, not in the city of Flint or Flint Township.
If anybody's got it,
Good luck. All right, so that's Brian. He's our secretary. His email should be in here, and he'll stay and continue drinking after the meeting, so you can meet with him. Anybody have any particular questions they'd like help with? Anything in particular before we call the meeting to an end? Yes. Okay. Thank you guys all for coming, and please do not leave all this food for the dumpster. Our last thing is 50-50.
Oh yeah, okay, and don't give it all away.
What?
Don't give it all away.
All right. The last 4 digits is 5649. 5649. We got a winner. All right. How much did they win? $40. $40. America. Thank you guys for coming.